YOLO. Today I wanted to take a moment and talk about nostalgia. That rose-colored glasses that you can look back on old memories with and everything seemed better. Now, I'm not saying that things nowadays don't kind of suck, because in many ways they do. But I often think to myself, when I'm in my daily life, that one day I'll look back on these days that I'm currently living with nostalgia. I'll have fond memories, and it makes me slightly melancholy of the times that I'm currently in, and more appreciative of them. Now, it's easy to look back on childhood and remember the world is simpler. Christmas mornings, opening up an Xbox, playing your first COD game, sucking at multiplayer. Zombies was actually scary back then. Things were simple, good, and the world was a better place. But that's not entirely true. The fact of the matter is, you're seeing it through rose-tinted glasses. See, when you were a kid, you didn't have to deal with stress and anxiety about bills, mortgage. Your parents were the ones having all their hairs turn gray back in 2008. You were just running around being a dumb child. You literally didn't know any better. I often joke with my parents and tell them the biggest mistake I made 2008 was being a child and not buying property. It seemed like a simpler world back then. But the truth of the matter, it wasn't. We just didn't have the same access to information we do now. With the click of a button, the first thing that happens when you wake up, you get bombarded with news, with headlines, with media, with biases, doom and gloom 24/7. The news found out that rage bait gets more engagement and views. So next thing you know, everything is fear-mongering and rage bait. Nothing healthy. But when you were a kid, you wake up, you go and get yourself some cereal first thing. You didn't have a cell phone with internet access at the tip of your fingers, filling you in on every geopolitical event when you were 8. You see your childhood through the eyes of a child. You weren't concerned with the value of a dollar or which group in the Middle East was going to upset the balance of power and potentially suck America into another forever war. Your main concerns were how many days until your birthday and whose sleepover you were going to go to on Saturday. One of the reasons things seem so nostalgic, or it seems like they were the good old days and you didn't know they were the good old days, is because your parents did a really good job of sheltering you from the stress of actual life until it was time for you to step out and start living. I know for me personally, it seems that life just seems to be getting faster and faster. But in reality, 24 hours still makes up one day, 365 days still make up a year. It just is my perception that more is going on now than it was when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, everything seemed new and exciting. A video game would release and there was nothing like that before. I still remember starting up the PlayStation, and every time you'd hit the button, it would be like, because it was PlayStation 2 Extreme. And then I switched to the Xbox 360 because all my friends were on Xbox, and I never went back to PlayStation after that. The glory days, as they're often called, where you can remember staying up till like 11 or midnight, or in some cases possibly 3 a.m. if you were really quiet, gaming with your friends, just talking about who knows what till the wee hours of the morning, trying to imagine what life would be like when you were a grown-up, picturing it, and reality now doesn't seem anything like what you imagined, does it? I know for me it is completely different than how I imagined it, and a lot of people feel that way. So it's easy to go back to old games, old movies, old comfort shows. I don't know how many people have watched The Office 10, 20 times without even really watching it. They just like to have it on in the background because it is almost like a security blanket for adults. It takes you back to that peaceful time when things weren't so messy. Life wasn't so scary, and the world moved a little slower. This feeling of nostalgia is so widely sought after by many people that Hollywood just seems to keep on pumping out remakes and sequels to our favorite shows or movies from back in the day. Too scared to try anything new. Trying to feed off of or ride that wave of happy memory, not having to put in as much work, because they know new equals scary, whereas old equals comfort. And people will choose comfort any day of the week over fear. The two main problems I see with nostalgia, though, I've kind of alluded to so far in the video, are one, you're looking at it through rose-tinted glasses. Your child's eye view of how the world used to be is not how it really was, giving you a false perception of your memories. And two, those who dwell on the past miss the present and end up destroying their own future. It's good to look back, to enjoy, to even play some old video games once in a while. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you start harboring on these thoughts too long or idealizing how things used to be, you spend less time in the here and now making new memories that you can one day look back on pleasantly. And if you're too focused on what was, you don't pay attention to what is, and you miss the chance to build what could be. I know there's a lot of people now who remember 9/11 as a historical event. I was a little toddler at that time, so I don't even remember it, but give it 5-10 years, and there'll be people who remember the 2020 lockdowns as a historical event written in textbooks. They will have never experienced it, and what it was really like for the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, which turned into 2 years, millions of dollars transferred, and entire lives lost, families torn apart, and businesses destroyed, will all just be ink on a paper. Well, that's for them. For us, 10 years from now, we'll remember the 2020 lockdowns with nostalgia. Our view of it will be tinted. We'll see it not as a horrible, scary time, but more like a time where everyone just paused. We were able to go home and relax. We spent hours a day binging our favorite shows or playing our favorite games. Those toxic coworkers that you used to hate seeing every single day? Nah, you didn't have to deal with them for weeks, months, years. You're going to remember it far differently than how it really happened. There will come a time where we look back at the 2020 pandemics and we'll think of it fondly, remembering it not as a horrible time, but more as a time where the biggest concern we had was if we were being forced to wear a mask or if someone was refusing to wear a mask. Compared to what we're in now, it seems so much simpler already, and this is just a few years later, 4 or 5. We now have the threats of nuclear annihilation, AI taking the jobs, devaluation of the currency, instability, all kinds of problems. But as they say, there's nothing new under the sun. They used to have the major concern of the Soviets and the Cold War, people getting drafted into Nam and dealing with Agent Orange. And if you roll it far enough back, it was the horrors of World War II or the Great War. There's always been some catastrophe, and people have looked back fondly to simpler times. But the truth is, no times were ever simple. Every time period had their own challenges. As far back as the pioneer days, where a simple cut on the ankle could mean death, or drinking river water could be the end of your life. Nothing's ever been easy, safe, or simple. We just remember it that way because we lived through it, we survived it, and we have perspective now. Every new catastrophe will seem like the worst thing until we've made it. Everything we've already survived will seem better by comparison. So my challenge for you is to imagine you're 30 years in the future looking back to this present day and time. Looking back at it with the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia. What would you miss most about these days if you lost it? What's something that you wish you could get back? Remember, one day, today will be the good old days, and you'll wish for them back. Make the most of the time you have while you do, and make some memories that are worth sharing. As always, I'll catch you on the flip side.